Welcome to BASF Middle Georgia Site-Specific Training. Please pay close attention to the material covered in this training. If you have any questions during or after the training, please contact your site representative.
Hello, I'm Keith Brooks, Site Director of BASF Scale and Operations here in Middle Georgia. And on behalf of all the employees here in Middle Georgia, I'd like to extend a warm welcome to you, whether you're a visitor or a contractor or a new employee here at our facility. The one thing we need you to understand is that safety is paramount in everything we do. There's nothing that takes a priority over safety anywhere across any of our sites here in Middle Georgia. You'll be learning about our safety philosophy, and that's not just words on a document, but a way of life and a culture for us. And also you'll hear about exposure reduction process, and that's all about us identifying at-risk behaviors, both in our physical locations, such as housekeeping, or even in the tasks that our employees and you will be performing as you go about your daily activities. I ask you to understand all these policies and procedures we have here concerning safety at our operations. Understand them, and I ask you to put them into effect with everything you do. If you have any questions about safety, about anything, make sure you raise your hand and we'll get the right expertise in the conversation with you to make sure that all your questions are answered and that we keep you safe while you're here in our facilities. Thank you for being here, and I ask you to have a safe day. And again, if any questions, please raise them and we'll get the right expertise to you. Thank you again.
All company and contract employees have the responsibility and authority to stop a job that in their mind has a hazard that would prevent the job from being completed safely. Once this right has been exercised, a supervisor must be notified immediately to make whatever adjustment that may be necessary. The expectations of BASF is that all work is completed safely and efficiently. Therefore, the standard for our employees is high. We expect no less from contractors performing services at our locations. While on BASF property, you will be responsible to comply with all federal, state, and BASF standards. Each contractor will have a BASF contact person assigned to assist and support you while on BASF property. It is important to keep an open line of communication with your contact person. We expect each contractor to maintain adequate safeguards of their work area and to ensure that no property damage occurs. Each contract employee must have completed and documented all required training prior to working on any BASF property. All contract workers at BASF Middle Georgia must have the following completed and submitted prior to performing work on site: a background check, MSHA training verification, and site-specific training. Site-specific training must be completed on an annual basis. Contractors who routinely need access to the plants will be issued a security badge, provided they can verify current site-specific training and have had a background check. Each individual in a vehicle must swipe their card when entering and exiting the plants. When employees terminate service, BASF Middle Georgia Security must be notified so the card can be disabled. ID badges must be worn at all times and be visible to others while on company property. Lost, stolen, or damaged ID badges will be reported to security as soon as possible. The badge will be disabled and a new badge will be issued. You are prohibited from using a badge other than the one issued to you to access controlled areas, such as gates, buildings, etc. Contractor sign-in, sign-out is necessary on all BASF Middle Georgia sites. Sign-in, sign-out locations are as follows: McIntyre Main Office, sign-in, sign-out at the main lobby; Davyville, Toddville, sign-in, sign-out at the production offices; Gordon, sign-in, sign-out at the truck driver's entrance, main office, or the main lobby. At the Edgar site, sign-in, sign-out at the main office copier room or the maintenance PM office. Washington County Mill, sign-in, sign-out is located at the maintenance shop and the lab. At the Dixie Mill, sign-in, sign-out is located at the Mill Operator Control Room. BASF prohibits contraband and certain items on site. Contraband and prohibited items include illegal narcotics, prescription drugs without labels and/or prescriptions, alcohol, as well as cameras and any type of recording device. Any weapon, firearm, instrument, or device, improvised or otherwise, that corporate security has declared to be a prohibited weapon, including but not limited to personally owned knives that are greater than 5 inches, stun guns, tasers, explosives, ammunition, martial arts weapons, swords, bows, arrows, and similar objects, and personal protective spray such as mace and pepper spray are strictly prohibited on BASF property. BASF prohibits the removal of company property, photos, videos, and electronic recordings from the company. BASF feels it necessary to stress that the use of personal knives is absolutely prohibited. Personally owned knives that are 5 inches or less are permitted. However, these are not to be used for work purposes. To ensure safety, you are required to use knives provided by BASF to perform certain tasks. Knives shall only be used for the purpose for which they were designed. Basically, if the company needs an employee, visitor, vendor, or contractor to have a knife, the company should provide it, or as part of a tool set, the contractor is required to have an edged implement. It would provide it as a part of its service to the facility. All vehicles and persons accessing BASF Middle Georgia properties are subject to searches, random or planned, for contraband or prohibited items. Discovery of contraband or prohibited items in vehicles or on persons will result in consequences up to and including law enforcement notification, termination, and debarment from BASF properties. A company's most important asset is its employees, its contractors, business partners, and suppliers. You are responsible for helping to ensure the site stays safe and secure. Your voice matters and your eyes and ears are important to the security and safety culture of the company. To that end, BASF asks every employee, visitor, vendor, and contractor to do the following as it pertains to security. If you see something, say something. Workplace violence is also a safety concern. The following are examples: use of physical force that causes or could cause physical injury, lethal violence, example given, shooting, stabbing, bombing, or other deadly force, domestic violence, bullying, stalking, harassment, or other threatening words or actions, destruction, attempted destruction, or threats to destroy BASF property or the personal property of personnel or visitors. If you are aware of or experience any of these, report it to your supervisor, manager, BASF site security representative, or report it to the security officer on duty. In an emergency, call 911. When using an internal phone line, dial 911. Report suspicious activity. Remember the 5 W's: who or what you saw, when you saw it, where it occurred, and why it is suspicious. The plan of action. Medical emergencies are as follows. When made aware of an accident or injury in your department, contact the shift supervisor or area leader of the injured employee. The supervisor of the injured employee should then contact medical services and EHS personnel. First aid members are also a valuable resource of any shift and are listed on the plant work schedule. In the event of contract employee injury or illness, first aid services will be provided to injured or ill contract employees by Middle Georgia Site Medical Services. If additional medical services are required, the contract employee's supervisor, located on site, will be contacted and the contract employer notified. For serious medical emergencies, local EMS services will be called on site to transport the contract employee for medical treatment. Notification within BASF. As soon as possible after the incident, the supervisor or his or her designee will notify the following personnel: site manager, superintendent of the injured employee, EHS team member, human resources, Middle Georgia Medical Services. The Mine Safety and Health Administration will be notified of any serious injury or fatality by the EHS department as required by law within 15 minutes. Emergency contact information for BASF Middle Georgia operations is as follows. Site Medical Services, 478-946-7860 or 478-946-7789. Site Security, 478-946-7707. In case of emergency, dial 911. When using an internal phone line, dial 0 and then 911. Let's review. Choose the correct answers to the following questions. Question number 1. If there is no safe way of doing a job, it will remain undone until a safe way can be found. The correct answer is A. True. Question 2. All contract workers at BASF Middle Georgia must have the following completed and submitted prior to performing work on site. The correct answer is D. All of the above. Question 3. ID badges must be worn at all times and be visible to others while on company property. If you chose A, true, that is the correct answer. Question 4. All vehicles and persons accessing BASF Middle Georgia properties are subject to searches, random or planned, for contraband or prohibited items. The correct answer is A. True. The purpose of the contractor orientation is to inform contractors of all EHS requirements and expectations, and that these are communicated to and understood by each contractor company prior to work startup. Also, it is vital that each contractor understand the partnership that their company and BASF have entered into, that it is unacceptable to be injured on our sites, and that it is imperative that all rules and processes be followed 100% of the time. Any job performed by a contractor requires a safe work permit to be completed prior to initiating work. The owning or operating department will work with the contractor to complete this permit. A copy of the required permits must be available for inspection at the job site. Contractors are required that all crew members review and understand the completed permit. If the contractor fails to maintain the safety precautions required by law or directed by the company will take the appropriate steps to ensure compliance. All accidents and near misses must be reported. An accident is defined as any occurrence, intentional or unintentional, that results in injury or property damage. Contractors are responsible for reporting and investigating all accidents. In order to expedite this process, the contractor should designate an individual to be the Site Safety Coordinator. The Site Safety Coordinator will immediately report all accidents to the company representative in charge of the project. As soon as possible after the accident, a written report shall be prepared and a copy delivered to the company representative. Contractors are responsible for filling out all applicable accident forms required by federal agencies as well as any other agency. As a contractor or visitor at Middle Georgia sites, you are required to review and understand the evacuation plan for each location that you visit or perform work. Weather radios located throughout Middle Georgia operations are the primary source for severe weather alerts. In the event of a severe weather emergency, evacuations will be as follows. Employees located at the Gordon office, McIntyre office, and Technical Center should proceed to the basement area of each building. Employees located at the Davyville, Toddville, Gordon, and Edgar plants should proceed to the filter buildings or underneath silos. Employees located at the Conference Center should proceed to the hallway between the kitchen and bathrooms. Always proceed to the nearest shelter within your work area. Operators and people working on heavy equipment would follow the same procedure. Once severe weather information becomes available, the highest-ranking individual at each location will take control and ensure that everyone remains calm. During severe weather emergencies, avoid metal objects that may transmit electricity. Windows and doors should be secured pending a severe weather warning. Stay away from windows and doors. Each plant within the Middle Georgia operations will have designated smoking areas. These locations will be clearly marked as designated smoking areas. Smoking is also strictly prohibited in all other areas on BASF property. BASF strictly enforces the use of personal protective equipment. The wearing of personal protective equipment does not eliminate a hazard. However, it will minimize the impact and severity of an accident or injury in the event of an accident. Each article of PPE must be inspected prior to use for defects, and any PPE found that does not pass inspection must be immediately discarded. You are responsible for properly inspecting, wearing, and maintaining your personal protective equipment. BASF considers the following standard personal protective equipment: hard hats, safety glasses, gloves, safety shoes and footwear, earmuffs or plugs. Any task needing additional or specific personal protective equipment should be discussed with your BASF site representative. While working at or visiting BASF Middle Georgia sites, the following traffic and yard rules are applicable. You must adhere to all posted traffic signs and speed limits. Drivers and passengers must wear seat belts, and the operator should have a valid driver's license. When your vehicle is left unattended and parked, turn off the motor, leave the key in the ignition, and chock the wheels. You must also conduct a pre-shift inspection of your vehicle and have your pre-shift inspection record available for your vehicle. If you operate a vehicle over 26,000 pounds or are transporting DOT hazardous material, you are required to maintain all licenses and training required by state agencies. All vehicles are subject to an inspection by a BASF representative, if requested, when entering or exiting the company's plant property. Crossing between or under coupled railroad cars is prohibited at all Middle Georgia sites. Your vehicle must be properly identified with your company logo. Parking is available in the contractor-designated parking areas. Loose-fitting clothing, ties, tank tops, sleeveless shirts, shorts, nylon watch bands, and open-toed shoes are not allowed to be worn on BASF Middle Georgia sites. Full-length pants and shirts which cover the waist and upper arms must also be worn to protect against sunburn, chemical contact, insect bites, and other hazards. First aid kits and automatic external defibrillators are located throughout all Middle Georgia sites. It is also a good practice to familiarize yourself with the locations of first aid kits and automatic external defibrillators. There must be at least one employee per crew that has been trained in basic first aid and CPR. Contractors must adhere to all safety rules and regulations as well as any posted signs. Inappropriate behavior and activities such as horseplay and fighting are prohibited on BASF property. Fatalities, accidents, and injuries can be reduced if we all work together and share our safety knowledge. An accident analysis prevention method that has proven effective is a job hazards analysis program. Job hazards analysis is a basic approach to developing improved accident prevention procedures by documenting the first-hand experience of workers and supervisors. Worker participation is important to efficient, safe, and increased productivity. If hazards and near misses are not reported and analyzed, corrections cannot be initiated. A job that has been planned and analyzed for potential hazards will be safer. Job hazards analysis can be a central element in a safety program and will be most effective when all employees are involved. The skills and knowledge of workers, supervisors, and managers must be utilized. Job hazards analysis, commonly known as JHA, is a process used to determine hazards and safe procedures for each step of a job. A specific job or work assignment can be separated into a series of relatively simple steps, and the hazards associated with each step can be identified. You will work directly with your BASF contractor representative to complete the job hazards analysis training. Naturally occurring radioactive material, referred to as NORM, can accumulate on metal equipment that has been used for processing kaolin slurry. It is imperative to test and document readings for NORM on scrap metal before disposal. Forms are available through the site or through EHS. Anyone who must transport material with radiation levels higher than 50 microrem per hour must have proper paperwork and placarding for transporting radioactive waste, as well as be DOT certified for transporting hazardous material. Personnel that handle scrap metal should use a Geiger counter to assure metal is clean or below 15 microrem per hour before disposal or placement in laydown yards. Other radioactive waste must be below 50 microrem per hour before off-site transport. If not, it is considered radioactive waste. Used filter cloths, refractory, out-of-service meters. Radioactive sources are located throughout the plant. Look for the signage indicating the location of a source in your work area. If you have any questions about the radiation sources that you encounter in your work area, you can contact the local EHS department or area supervisor. Let's review. Choose the correct answers to the following questions. Question 5. Any job performed by a contractor requires a safe work permit be completed prior to initiating work. The correct answer to question 5 is A, true. Question 6. Each plant within the Middle Georgia operations will have designated smoking areas. These locations are clearly marked as designated smoking areas. The correct answer to question 6 is A, true. Question 7. BASF considers which of the following standard personal protective equipment? The correct answer is D, all of the above. Question 8. There must be at least one employee per crew that has been trained in basic first aid and CPR. The correct answer is A, true. Whenever a vehicle is left unattended on BASF's property, the vehicle shall have the drive wheels chalked in a manner to prevent rolling. Unattended is defined as any situation in which the vehicle operator leaves the cab of the vehicle. The chalk must be of a type specifically designed for that purpose. In addition, parking brakes must be applied when unattended. This applies to all mobile equipment, including golf carts and utility vehicles. All carriers making deliveries or pickups will be required to adhere to this policy and will be expected to provide their own chalking devices. Carriers should expect refusals to load and unload until any issue is corrected. All portable trailers will be equipped with safety chains, which will be used whenever the trailer is in motion to prevent the trailer from separating from the pulling vehicle. Properly maintained and safe equipment is critical to safe operations. The equipment operator must perform a pre-shift examination on all self-propelled mobile equipment before putting the equipment into service. If defects are found, they must be reported to the area leader and taken out of service until repaired and approved by the area leader. Cell phone use in any form is prohibited while operating mobile equipment on BASF property. BASF does, however, allow the use of hands-free devices. All loads should be secured during transport to prevent debris from falling from the truck. Loads should also be covered if material can blow off the truck, and, following dumping of material, be certain to lower the truck bed before putting the truck in motion. Tires that are over 16 ply are required to be inflated with dry nitrogen gas to prevent a possible explosion. Extreme caution should be used when traveling or working in or around the mining operations. Ramps on haul roads shall not contain the following conditions simultaneously: grades greater than 10%, a clay surface, or water on the surface. One of the three must be removed prior to placing the ramp in service. Berms must be present on haul roads and at dump locations and must also meet the MSHA requirement of berms being mid-axle height of the largest piece of equipment traveling the roadway. Only the designated operators shall operate a crane. When positioning a crane in a confined area, a trained signal person shall be used to direct the operator. The operator shall respond to signals from a person who is directing the lift or an appointed signal person. When a signal person is not required as a part of the operation, the operator is then responsible for the lifts. However, the operator shall obey a stop signal at all times, no matter who gives it. Each operator will be held responsible for those operations under the operator's direct control. Whenever there is any doubt as to safety, the operator shall consult with the supervisor before handling the loads. Standard signals to the operator shall be in accordance with the ANSI standard B30.5, unless voice communication equipment, telephone, radio, or equivalent is utilized. Signals shall be discernible or audible at all times. No response shall be made unless signals are clearly understood. All hydrolift operators must be certified and will be identified by the decal located on his hard hat. Operating a crane at any Middle Georgia site requires a signalman at all times. When using a crane, outriggers on mobile cranes shall be fully extended and down. Cribbing is required when working on soft or unstable soil. Also, all rigging and lifting hardware must be tested, certified, and maintained in good condition. Whenever a crane is to be used as an anchor point for fall protection, the job must be reviewed and approved by BASF Middle Georgia EHS. All mobile equipment 1 ton and over shall be equipped with a fire extinguisher and backup alarm. Trucks under 1 ton must have an alarm if there is an obstructed view. BASF uses a 2-color system for barricade tape throughout Middle Georgia operations. Yellow tape representing caution and red tape representing danger. In addition, yellow tape must have an orange hazard tag identifying the hazard. Red tape requires completion of a white tag. A gate must be established and only the names listed on the tag are authorized to enter and work in the area. There will be more on this subject upon meeting with your contractor representative. Contractors performing any welding or cutting operations are required to complete a BASF hot work permit. Welding helmets must be worn when welding, while face shields and goggles must be worn with hard hats during cutting operations. Safety glasses should be worn under face shields. All hot work requires removal of flammable liquids or combustible materials at least 35 feet prior to performing work. Welding blankets should be used when it is not feasible to move combustible materials 35 feet. All compressed gas cylinders should be secured in a vertical position with the valve caps in place when not in use. When not in use, cutting torches will be turned off and pressure released from the hoses and regulators. Gas regulators must be equipped with reverse flow check valves and flashback arresters. Flip-up valve protection is sufficient. Hose connections shall be clamped or securely fastened to withstand twice the pressure they are normally subjected to, but not less than a pressure of 300 psi. Hoses showing leaks, burns, worn places, or other defects must immediately be repaired or replaced. No more than 2 splices per 50 feet of hose are allowed, and worm gear clamps are not allowed on air hoses. Valve caps in place when not in use, and cutting torches will be turned off and pressure released from the hoses and regulators. Gas regulators must be equipped with reverse flow check valves and flashback arresters. Cutting and welding on containers that contain or may have contained flammable materials is prohibited unless the container is clean of residue, filled with water or inert gas, or checked with a gas detector. Compressed air shall not be used or directed towards personnel for any reason, including for cleaning purposes. When compressed gas cylinders are involved in a fire, immediately notify the fire department. Fire extinguishers are strategically located throughout the plant and are for emergency fire use only. Become familiar with these locations and how to use the extinguishers. In addition, it is the contractor's responsibility to provide adequate fire protection in their work areas. If used, the extinguisher should be immediately returned to its point of origin and reported to your BASF representative for inspection and recharging. Let's review. Choose the correct answers to the following questions. Question 9. An unattended vehicle is defined as any situation in which the vehicle operator leaves the cab of the vehicle. The answer to question 9 is A. True. Question 10. Equipment operators must perform pre-shift inspections on all mobile equipment before placing it in service. The answer to question 10 is A. True. Question 11. Only designated crane operators are allowed to operate cranes while on BASF property. The answer to question 11 is A. True. Question 12. It is the contractor's responsibility to provide adequate fire protection in their work areas. If you chose A, true, for question 12, that is correct. Fall protection such as lifelines, rope grabs, safety harnesses, etc. are required when working at heights greater than 4 feet. This includes work being performed from aerial buckets. Fall protection is also required when working on corrugated roofs. Ladders shall be in safe condition, tied off at the top, and staked at the bottom when necessary. Aluminum extension ladders are prohibited in areas where electrical wires are located. All step ladders must be Type 1 industrial step ladders. All ladders must be inspected frequently. At a minimum, ladders must be inspected before and after each use. Portable platform ladders are included in this standard. During abrasive blasting operations, the use of supplied air respirators is mandatory. Abrasive materials that are low in silica content should be used. Review the BASF Respiratory Protection Program. Remember, spray painting operations in confined spaces require the use of respiratory protective equipment as well. Hydroblast is defined as any pressure washing greater than 5,000 psi. BASF has committed to automating all water cleaning and cutting services and phasing out hydroblasting shotgun cleaning activities. Because of this commitment to automation, sites must implement a formal review and approval each and every time a non-automated cleaning operation occurs. Prior to performing work on any equipment where electrical, hydraulic, pneumatic, or gravity sources of energy may injure a person, the equipment shall be brought to a zero energy state, locked, tagged, and tried. The BASF Middle Georgia lockout policy and construction lockout policy shall be followed. When using portable electric tools, contractors must ensure that the tool is equipped with a deadman device. GFCI protection is required when using electrically powered hand tools. Safety chains or suitable locking devices shall be used in connection points on all high-pressure hoses of 3/4 of an inch in size or larger, and between hose lines where a connection failure would create a hazard. Machine guards must be maintained and left in place at all time, unless the removal is necessary for maintenance or repair. All necessary safety precautions will be taken while the guards are disassembled. All guards must be in place before the machine is placed back into operation. Workers are not allowed to walk or stand on screw conveyor covers. Electrical space heaters are allowed. However, if an employee leaves an area for 30 minutes or more, the heater shall be turned off. All heaters must be turned off at the end of the day, and if used, must be 3 feet from any combustible. Excavation and trenching work requires compliance with BASF's excavation procedure. All excavation and trenching work must be authorized by a BASF representative. All applicable training must be completed prior to work being initiated. Entry into confined spaces requires compliance with BASF's confined space entry procedures. All confined space work must be authorized by a BASF representative, and all applicable training must be completed prior to work being initiated. Let's review. Choose the correct answers to the following questions. Question 13. Fall protection such as lifelines, rope grabs, and safety harnesses are required when working at heights greater than 4 feet. The answer to question 13 is A. True. Question 14. All stepladders must be type industrial stepladders. The answer to question 14 is A. 1. Question 15. Abrasive blasting operations does not require the use of supplied air respirators. The answer to question 15 is B. False. Question 16. Portable electrical tools should be equipped with a dead man device. The answer to question 16 is A. True. Question 17. All confined space work must be authorized by a BASF representative. The answer to question 17 is A. True. All work involving rechargeable, disposable, or other services involving Freon or CFC material on mobile or stationary equipment shall be performed by certified operators using the appropriate equipment. Pipe content and flow direction identification substantially improve plant efficiency by reducing search time and costs for emergency repairs or routine preventative maintenance. The color coding procedure guide applies to all facilities within the McIntyre, Mineral, and Gordon operations. The use of a uniform system of color coding the physical hazards in the piping systems has been established and is maintained at all locations. Federal safety regulations require all hazardous materials being piped or handled during normal plant activity to be identified. This procedure does not apply to pipes buried in the ground or electrical conduits. When handling hazardous materials such as caustics and acids, personal protective clothing shall be worn to prevent skin contact. Flammable liquids such as gasoline, alcohol, mineral spirits, thinners, solvents, etc. shall be stored in ULFM safety cans with labels indicating the contents. Hazardous materials that are classified as corrosive, reactive, flammable, or toxic that are in use shall be plainly marked or labeled in order to identify hazards, the proper PPE for the job, and safe work practices. All hazardous material containers shall be removed from the BASF site upon completion of work by the contractor. Personnel should use proper PPE for the job and follow safe work practices. All hazardous material containers shall be removed from the BASF site upon completion of work. Spills of hazardous materials must be reported to the Middle Georgia Environmental Group immediately. A list of hazardous materials is available through the SDS databases. The materials can be accessed either by SDS name or by chemical component. The list is automatically updated and available whenever a new SDS is added to the system. BASF maintains a Product Safety Data Sheets, SDS, for Middle Georgia. Remember that materials in a temporary or portable container are also exempt under Part 47. However, certain criteria must be met. The criteria is as follows. The worker must know the identity of the chemical, its hazards and control measures. He must leave the container empty at the end of the shift. While the federal rule does not require labeling of temporary or portable containers in these situations, it is the practice at Middle Georgia to do so. Any temporary or portable containers shall be labeled with the trade name or common name and the NFPA GHS rating system. A full stop is required at all railroad crossings. Stop signs have been installed at all crossings and they include signs indicating the number of tracks to be crossed. Water or neutralizing agents shall be available where corrosive chemicals or other harmful substances are stored, handled, or used. Combination safety shower eye wash units are installed in accessible locations that require no more than 10 seconds to reach. These units are located on the same level as the hazard and the path of travel shall be free of obstructions. Each combination unit location is identified with a highly visible sign. Employees who may be exposed to hazardous materials are instructed in the location and proper use of the combination units. Test eye wash and shower stations prior to performing work. Battery charging rooms are identified by signage outside of the battery charging room. No smoking or open flames are allowed around the battery charging room. A fire extinguisher of the ABC type shall be located in close proximity to the charging room. An eye wash station is immediately available for the flushing of the eyes in case of an emergency. Personal protective equipment shall be available and worn when working directly with batteries, to include neoprene acid gloves, acid-proof goggles, face shield, acid-proof apron or suit, and rubber boots if fluids are added to the battery. When batteries are being charged, a fan for forced ventilation is used during the charging process to prevent the buildup of hydrogen gases. If possible, charging of batteries should be done outside of the vehicle, in an approved battery charging room or facility. If it becomes necessary to charge a battery in a vehicle, wear the appropriate PPE prior to hooking up charger. Acid-proof goggles, face shield, acid-proof gloves, acid-proof apron or suit. Portable signage should be placed in immediate area stating that charging is taking place. Housekeeping is an integral element of safety at our Middle Georgia sites. As a contractor, you will be responsible to keep all work areas clean and neat. At the end of each day, your final task will be to completely clean and remove all tools and materials from your work area as soon as practical. Aisles and exits and electrical switch boxes shall be kept free of any materials as well. If a contractor fails to clean up and the company does it for you, you may be charged a cleanup fee. Any contractor or subcontractor's employee who has violated company safety rules and regulations or has willfully committed an unsafe act on company property shall have a formal letter of reprimand filed with his superintendent. Copies will also be sent to the BASF representative in charge of that work area and to the safety department. In addition, upon review, the contractor or employee may be barred from working on BASF property. If this is the case, a formal letter will be sent. All objections will be sent to the safety department. Let's review. Choose the correct answer to the following questions. Question 18. Flammable liquids such as gasoline, alcohol, mineral spirits, thinners, and solvents shall be stored in UL/FM safety cans with labels indicating the contents. The answer to question 18 is A. True. Question 19. Spills of hazardous materials must be reported to the Middle Georgia Environmental Group immediately. The answer to question 19 is A. True. Question 20. Water or neutralizing agents shall be available where corrosive chemicals or other harmful substances are stored, handled, or used. The answer to question 20 is A. True. Question 21. Housekeeping is an integral element of safety at our Middle Georgia sites. The answer to question 21 is A. True. Thank you for completing the BASF site-specific training. A training certificate will be issued upon completion of this training. If you have any questions or need additional information, please see your BASF site representative.